Another big difference 20 odd years ago, I think, was the time pressure that was put on us as well. I mean, not just that if you didn't go to uni, you were a failure, but also that if you didn't go to uni, like now, I mean, and like, taking that year out, taking that gap year was really considered such a wasted year, because putting yourself back that year. And I always remember something my dad used to say to me as well, which was, if you haven't made it by the time you're 40, you're probably never going to make it. I just want to talk about your not going to university comment and just go down that hole for a minute, because this has only come up recently over the last few days for me, actually, when I was asked to go on record something on TV back in the UK a couple of days ago, which was a debate about the pros and cons of using university for the stepping stone to the career path that you want. And I was on there as the, as the against the university, but not against. But to be clear, I'm not against. I'm pro open mind, pro options. I'm very, very pro education. But I came from, I was going to uni, or I would have been going to uni in 1998, 99, 2000, and it was a very, very different era to what we're in now. I mean, back in the mid to late 90s and before then as well. If you didn't go to university, it was as good as if you'd been written off for any career prospects. Certainly working for a corporation. And I guess fast forward, I say 20 years, but probably over the last 5, 6, 7 years, there's been a material shift there. And even the biggest corporations in the world, the Apples, the Googles, etc., no longer insist on a university or on a college education to be able to get a job there. Whereas, like I say, go back to the mid to late 90s, you probably couldn't get a job as a toilet cleaner in a corporation for that. Now, you've been an apprentice, and one of the many routes to the career that you want, should you not go down the university route. But I mean, now you're an employer as well, and I guess you're taking people on in all kinds of different walks of life. What's your take on educational options? The importance of university. I mean, I feel like I've already put too many answers to that, rather than just framing a question. But you know where I'm going with it anyway.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that question. It's actually something that I'm pretty passionate about. I'm the same way. I personally believe that it depends on what it is that you want to do with your life. Fortunately for me, I pretty well had a good idea what I wanted to do. I actually started putting roofs on houses when I was maybe 10 years old or so. I grew up where my dad and I, we put additions on our house. We did drywall, we did plumbing. So I can honestly say that by the time I was 16, I pretty well knew how to fix almost everything in the house. And the reason why I went into electrical contracting was because that was one of the gray areas, we'll say, where I didn't really understand any of that, right? So that was the path that led me down to electrical contracting. And my goal was always to invest in, at the time, what I thought was, I always wanted to invest in houses, right? So buy a house, fix it up, sell it, rent it out, whatever. So I just needed a job that allowed me to be able to qualify for those types of loans. So I mentioned how I had my own electrical contracting company. I did a 5-year apprenticeship program. And basically, as soon as I had enough time in the industry to be able to qualify for my state certification, I went and took that and opened up my own electrical contracting company. And I should also say too, I bought my first house when I was 19, and same thing, fixed it up, flipped it. And that same mentality, that same process was how I went through the electrical contracting company. I kind of kept that mindset throughout the entire process, where we would buy houses. If the electrical contracting was slow, I would have the guys go over there and work on those houses. So they kind of fed into one another, right? So getting back to your question, I completely believe, and especially today, I completely identify with what you're saying. Back when we were growing up, I was looked at like, oh, he's not going to be anything. He's not going to be anybody. But again, I already knew, like, there's no doubt in my mind that I was going to own my own company, and I knew what I was going to do, and I did all of that, right? So for the people that don't necessarily have that type of mindset, that type of mentality where they know exactly what they want to do, and I can't even necessarily say they would be the right person to go to college, because I think a lot of people go to college just to sort of kick the can down the road a little bit more. Like, I don't know what I want to do, right? But maybe I can find myself in the next 3, 4, 5 years. And if not, then I'll just pick something and maybe they're happy with it, maybe they're not, right? I think there's a lot to be said about really, and this is something that isn't taught in school, but really getting into your mindset and really diving into what it is that motivates you and drives you and what you're really interested in. And then once you know that, figure out a path to be able to deploy that into life, right? And again, there's all kinds of different avenues today. People are doing TikTok, this and that, and a lot easier today than what it used to be. But are those people even happy, right? You really want to get into your mindset and get that right, so that whatever it is that you're doing, you are happy with it, and it's not a daily slog where you're always dreading getting up and oh, I got to go and do this again. I got to do with that, right? That's no way to live, right? So I really think that a lot of people sort of skip over all of that, and they don't really necessarily try to find themselves, if you will. And I think that there needs to be a lot more emphasis in that process, that part of growing up, to be able to get yourself into a position that you're going to be happy in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, one thing that I was thinking about when you were just talking then, and it's like I've dawned on me over the last 3 or 4 days since that original interview, is another big difference 20 odd years ago, I think, was the time pressure that was put on us as well. Not just that if you didn't go to uni, you were a failure, but also that if you didn't go to uni, like now, taking that year out, taking that gap year was really considered such a wasted year, because putting yourself back that year. And I always remember something my dad used to say to me as well, which was, if you haven't made it by the time you're 40, you're probably never going to make it. And it very much kind of almost was true back then as well, where I now look at things now, I think at 42, I've been doing this for 25 years, but I also could have a complete different change of plan tomorrow, start something completely different, and still not feel that I've really lost any time or been delayed at all. Now, whether or not that is a difference in mentality and psychology nowadays, or maybe it's also to do with the fact it's a lot easier, not necessarily easier, but you could scale a business a lot quicker. You could literally start a business at age 45, at age 55, 62 nowadays, and go from 0 customers to 1 million customers and tens of millions of pounds in a matter of months or very few years. Whereas 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it was as good as an impossibility, because more money means more scale means more distribution, and without the internet, distribution is a very very linear and clunky thing. So maybe there's that to it as well.